Alright guys, this is J-Hub here with the first video of my new channel. Or I guess it's not very new, but my new endeavor on this channel, I guess I should say. Uh, Basically what I want to do on this channel is start playing with, decks that are just good. Decks that I think are good in any given format. And I think this is a good format to start this off with, given that there's probably, 4 or 5 decks that you could probably reasonably take to a tournament, and if you just know how to play them, then you'll probably have a decent chance of success. And yeah, I wanna test them all myself, and I wanna show you guys how my thought process is when I'm playing, how to play tight and stuff like that, and sort of what goes into the deck building process. For this deck, there's not much deck building. I think this deck sort of builds itself. It's pretty standard though. It's card for card, I think, for what Tyree played at Atlantic City that he got second place in. I know Furman, who won the event, used 2 Vegas as opposed to one. I still like one more because I think that it kind of requires too much investment for the kind of deck that this is. Like, this deck's kind of grindy, and it's grindy in the sense that like it can trade 1 for 1 with any deck really, while simultaneously just sort of creating advantage. And I think that's sort of like the mantra of playing grindy is, being able to come out ahead. And yeah. And this deck is very good at doing that, given that it has 3 Wolf Barks and 3 Shadowses, and they all trigger whenever they're summoned. So Soul Charge and Called Haunted, obviously work extremely well with this sort of concept. But Vega doesn't really play into that whole concept, given that it requires you just to have 2 different monsters in your hand, and thus requires you sort of to make more of a commitment. Obviously, if you go like Vega into Deneb, Deneb's going to be floating, so it's a less of an investment. It's lesser of an investment. But I don't think that justifies being able to use 2 Vegas, just because Deneb is probably just good enough on its own. Yeah, Duality and Upstart. Upstart obviously sort of shaves the deck down and make it 37 cards. Duality gives you lots of good card selection, which I think is something that's really important for a deck that's only going to use 10 monsters. Soul Charge is probably one of the best cards ever made in Yu-Gi-Oh! And for some reason it is not banned, but I will continue playing decks that can use it for as long as I can. Rhoda going to 2 obviously helps this deck a lot. 3 MSTs, I know Tyree and Furman played 2, but I'm electing to use 3 because Emptiness is so popular now. And I do want to have, I don't want to like, it's going to make my side decking a lot easier post, games 2 and 3 when floodgates are coming in, because I can just have the MSTs already in the main deck. Call obviously interacts with the Satellars pretty well, given that they trigger whenever they're summoned, not when they're normal summoned. So I could call Haunted Altair in my opponent's end phase and summon a Deneb, and Deneb will trigger as well. Stellar Nova Alpha was not a, I know they use 3. I'm still not really sold on this card. I think it's alright. Obviously it's a good card. Like, don't get me wrong, like when it resolves, like it's definitely worth whatever you're gonna be negating. But there are also some drawbacks. You have to leave back Satellar Knights on your side of the field, which means you might not be able to exceed unless you want to have a dead card. And there's just really not a whole lot that like is like just great to negate right now. Like, I don't think this is like there's no like heavy storms or like cold waves running around in the format, like where you just need to protect all your back rows. So I think a lot of the games where like you're sparing off like Satellars just for Stellar Novas, you're probably winning those games as it is. But with that being said, it is still like it's still a good card, and I think it's still definitely worth testing. And maybe there are more situations that'll come up where I think it's a lot better. But so far, my testing, I've tested this deck probably about 10 matches or so going into the series. It has been great, but it's been alright. And this is like sort of a standard lineup of traps, honestly, these days. 3 Emptiness is kind of a lot, but I think it's pretty good, this format. Breakthrough Skill, same thing. I could see myself shaving Breakthrough Skill maybe a little bit, but as of right now, I think it's really good. Deep Prison's pretty insane right now. And these are the 3 staple traps, in my opinion, right now, between Compulse, Bottomless, and Warning. Side deck, we have Maxi, covers special summons, special summon, centric decks, such as Mermails and stuff. Maybe I could shave down on this, too, for maybe something better, like DD Crow for the mirror match. But I think we have some nice game against the mirror match as it is, which is where Thunder King comes in. Thunder King is very good in the mirror match. And it's also good against, like, Infernities. It's decent against Burning Abyss, and I probably would bring it in against Burning Abyss, given that it's also relatively large. Grand Mole is mainly there for it's mainly as like another one-of card against Shadows, but I mean I think it has some applications in other matchups. Like I don't think it's definitely I think it's definitely good against decks probably like dragons. I think it's probably good against dragons. Although dragons is really isn't that popular. Shadows is still like it's such a popular matchup that I think you can devote like one narrow card to it. That may have some applications in other matchups. Shadow Mirror to cover Shadows and Burning Abyss. It's basically the best floodgate you can have. Beast does not touch it, so. Stygian Durge is great against the Mirror Match and Burning Abyss, and I guess you could bring it against dragons as well. Those are the main decks I'd probably bring it in against. Nido Sealing sort of against Infernities and Mermails and stuff, and obviously there's a lot of decks that can sort of overextend. And Soul Drain, Defissure sort of to round out our floodgates, just good against any sort of graveyard-centric decks, which our deck is not, at least not entirely. And Full House, when they built their side decks, they built it with a lot less floodgate hate, which is understandable because I don't think there was going to be like a ton of Light Imprisoning Mirrors or anything like that against that, or a ton of Light Imprisoning Mirrors or Macrocosmos that was going to be at the event. But I think now that Satellar Knights sort of dominated that event, I think a lot more people are going to be prepared for it with Stygian Durge and Light Imprisoning Mirror. Given that sort of information, I think Full House is going to play a pretty important role. Generally, I would like to use Fairy Wind instead, given that it's just a lot more versatile and you don't have to like wait for certain things to happen for it to work. But we also play a lot of Floodgate on our own, and we don't want to be destroying our own Floodgate. We'd rather be destroying theirs, and I think that's pretty important. Extra deck, it's pretty standard. This guy I haven't really summoned yet, and I'm not like a huge fan of him either, given that 3 breakthrough skills is kind of common now. Karen Gorgon's like the biggest guy. Diamond Tower gets over everything. I haven't made Rhapsody in a while. Don't think I'm gonna cut it though, because having like a 1200 equip monster is actually just not very bad. Emerald's pretty insane. I kind of want to go up to 2, but 1's probably good for now. Cowboy's alright. Effectively 3000 attack. Black Ship is what I cut the Giant Hand for. I'm not using Giant Hand because I don't have one in real life, so I don't want to make this sort of unrealistic testing. Black Ship's been good, so I'm not sad with it or anything. Dweller's obviously good. Honor Exile Knight, very good. Palo Dynamo is nice It's a nice asset to have in a light centric deck, just because I mean it's a good card. It's just a good card. I mean it negates their effects. Obviously turns their attack to 0. When it dies, you draw a card, so it's floating, and it's just a good effect. It's a great tool to have when you're playing a light centric deck. Castello is the newest addition to the rank 4 toolboxes. It's very good, and I'm very happy using 2 of them. I haven't used 2 of them a lot, but I definitely have used it a couple of times, and it's pretty much insane, in pretty much any scenario. I haven't made 2 Delteros yet, but I could definitely see a lot of scenarios where it happens, given Soul Charge and stuff like that, and Call Haunted. And it's a good card when you resolve it. It's an insane card. And yeah, that sort of covers the deck there. This is sort of the most consistent deck I've seen so far, and I'm pretty happy with the results that I've had so far. But we're gonna put it into through 4 ranked matches, and we'll sort of see what happens. So yeah. This is the deck tech, and watch the next video.